Shalom, fam. Much ahab to the tribe. Much ahab to the family. Much ahab to all my indigenous peoples across this plain. All praises to Hawa, the Most High, our Creator. I hope your vibe is A1. I hope your frequency is 432. Yeah, I hope you all tuned up. I hope, everything's been well since the last time, we were sitting here together. I was just, thinking about a few things, and if y'all don't mind, I just figured I'd go ahead and present a little presentation. And today we're gonna take a little look into me personally, not too personally, but I'm going to let you into my head somewhat, let you into my thoughts, and if that's all right with you, we'll go ahead and take this trip. I kind of like to do things in a certain order, in a certain fashion, and there's a method to everything, so much ahab to all the family, much ahab to all the tribe. I hope everybody's doing well, alright? We're gonna go ahead and get into it. I've been digging, right? And I came across some interesting things that I'm gonna go ahead and share with the fam. Right now we're looking at the Norte Chico civilization, which was a complex pre-Columbian era society that included as much as 30 major population centers in what is now the Norte Chico region of north central coastal Peru. The civilization flourished between the 4th and 2nd millennia BC, with the formation of the first city generally dated to around 3500 BC at it sounds like Hawarikanga in the Fortaleza area. Alright? In the Fortaleza area. So basically, these guys got records saying that this Norte Chico civilization has been established as the oldest civilization in the Americas. Alright? So as you can see on the side, they're saying that this was the first, or not the first, but the oldest known civilization in the Americas. Alright? It says this civilization flourished at the confluence of 3 rivers, the Fortaleza and the Pativalika and the Supa. These river valleys each have large clusters of sites. Further south, there are even several associated along the Harawara River. Alright? And it says that it has 3 rivers, right? 1, 2, and 3, with the 4th one being this one, right? And it just made me wonder, like, everybody's always bashing us for this indigenous truth, right? And how we connect ourselves to the ancient Israelites, and they always want to scream, where's the proof, where's this and where's that. And as I was reading this, I found that it was very interesting how basically right here you have 4 rivers, right? 4 rivers. And if you've been, if you haven't, or if you have, in the presentation in the land of Adama, right, we came across some facts saying that Venezuela was, the oldest geological place in the world, and it's consistently growing new material and minerals every single day, right? It never stopped growing. So from that point in Venezuela is a ongoing process of creation, right? And I find it interesting right here that these 3 rivers that tie into this 4th one sounds a lot like the rivers in Genesis 2, right? And the river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from thence it was parted and became into 4 heads. The name of the first is Pison, right? Or Pison. That is it which compasses the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold. And the gold of that land is good. There is Bdellium, and the onyx stone. And the name of the second river is Gihon. The same is it that compasseth the whole land of Ethiopia. And the name of the third river is Hiddekel. That is it which goeth toward the east of so-called Assyria. And the 4th river is the Euphrates. Alright, so it gave us 4, right? And I just find that it's interesting that, we have 4 rivers right here, right? That cluster together, right? And create a bunch of sites, and it connects to a 4th one. And these rivers go all throughout Peru, all right? And they connect into even, larger bodies and streams of water that connect to vital points where these civilizations once, thrived. All right. It says the alternative name Coral Supe is derived from the city of Coral in the Supe Valley, a large and well-studied Norte Chico site. Complex society in Norte Chico arose a millennium after supposedly Sumer and Mesopotamia, right? And it was also contemporaneous with the Egyptian pyramids and predated the Mesoamerican Olmec by nearly 2 millennia. Now, I don't know, about Sumer being older than, Egypt, but, it seems that this Norte Chico was around there around the same time, even though I have my indigenous feeling that it was first, all right? But that's just my indigenous feeling, okay? We're gonna go ahead and move down a little bit. It says that an archaeological nomenclature, Norte Chico is a pre-ceramic culture of the pre-Columbian late Archaic period, all right? It is a pre-ceramic. It says it completely lacked ceramics and apparently had almost no visual art. All right, so they didn't do any ceramics, and they, didn't do a lot of images, right? They didn't do a lot of painting and and stuff that we're used to seeing that attaches itself with a prominent culture, right? It says the most impressive achievement of the civilization was its monumental architecture, including late earthwork platform mounds and sunken circular plazas. It says archaeological evidence suggests the use of textile technology and possibly the worship of common god symbols, both which recur in pre-Columbian Andean cultures. Sophisticated government is assumed to have been required to manage the ancient Norte Chico. Questions remain over its organization, particularly the influence of food resources on politics. All right. It says some scholars have suggested that Norte Chico was founded on seafood and maritime resources rather than the development of an agricultural cereal and crop surpluses, as has been considered essential to the rise of other ancient civilizations. All right. It says Norte Chico has established an earlier estimate for complex societies in the Peruvian region by more than 1,000 years. Right? It says The Kavene culture, circa 900 BC, had long been considered the first civilization of the area. It is still regularly cited as such in general works. So this Kavene culture is used to being considered the first civilization, but they're now finding out that it's actually this civilization of Norte Chico. Alright. It says the Peruvian littoral appears improbable and even a barren candidate for the pristine development of civilization compared to other world centers. It is extremely arid, bounded by 2 rain shadows, right? The region is punctuated by more than 50 rivers that carry Andean snowmelt. The development of widespread irrigation from these water sources is seen as decisive in the emergence of Norte Chico, since all of the monument architecture at various sites have been found close to irrigation channels. Alright, so these people were really good at irrigating. They had the knowledge and capability to implement waterworks to sustain the land, right? That would help them grow the crops that they did need to grow, or whatever vegetation that they used. They had a good sense on using the water, right, to go ahead and basically feed their crops, right? Let's see, what else we got? It says that circa 800 BC, the Norte Chico civilization began to decline, with more powerful centers appearing to the south and north along the coast and to the east inside the belt of the Andes. Norte Chico's success at irrigation-based agriculture may have contributed to its being eclipsed. One researcher notes that when this civilization is in decline, we begin to find extensive canals further north. People were moving to more fertile ground and taking their knowledge of irrigation with them. It would be 1,000 years before the rise of the next great Peruvian culture, the Kavene. Alright, so these indigenous peoples, right, took their irrigation knowledge with them that was used in agriculture, right? And once this civilization itself began to die down, as most civilizations do, they began to spread out. And once they spread out, they took this knowledge with them. Alright, and it carried on. So keep that in mind, alright, fam? It says that numerous architectural features found among the sediments of Supa, including subterranean circular courts, step pyramids, and sequential platforms, as well as material remains and their cultural implications excavated at Aspero and the valley sites we are digging, are shared with other settlements of the area that participated in what is known as the Kotosh religious tradition. Most specific among these features are rooms with benches and hearths, right? Hearths with subterranean ventilation ducts, wall niches, biconvex beads, and musical flutes. Right? Just, a little digging on this Norte culture, or Norte Chico civilization, my bad. Right? And you can see right here, that's their diet, right? I wanted to bring you guys right here, right? It says, concomitant to the maritime subsistence hypothesis, was an implied dominance of sites immediately adjacent to the coast over the centers. This idea was shaken by the realization of magnitude of corral in inland site. Supplemental to Shady's 1997 article dating corral, a 2001 Science News article emphasized the dominance of agriculture and also suggested that corral was the oldest urban city in Peru and the entire Americas. It depreciated, or deprecated, sorry. It deprecated the idea that the civilization might have begun adjacent to the coast and then moved inland. All right, so they said that, despite thinking they were only, reliant on seafood, right? They're also finding evidence now, especially as of 2001, that they had a dominance of agriculture, and that this certain spot in Corral, right, in the Norte Chico civilization, was the oldest urban center in Peru and the entire Americas. So let's dig on urban real quick, right? Urban meaning, right? It says, in relating to or characteristic of a city or town, denoting or relating to a popular dance music of black origin. Denoting popular black culture in general. From urban, alright? So urban, when we're looking at the meaning, ties right back into, what they want to call black culture in general. So technically, according to the word and the definition itself, there is no urban without you, my copper-colored people, right? The so-called Negro, and you're the so-called Negro, all right? Because you're really the autochthon, all right? So urban is denoting to you as a culture in general, right? Let's take it a step further. Here we have urban in etymology, right? Urban, characteristic of city life pertaining to cities or towns, right? Of or pertaining to a city or city life. In city fashion, polished, refined, cultivated, courteous, witty, Facious, right? Bold, impudent, city dweller, city, walled town. It says the word emerged in the sense as urbane, became restricted to manners and styles of expression. In the late 20th century, American English gradually acquiring a suggestion of African American. Alright, so once again, we find it that, in the meaning of the word, it ties back to you, right? It ties back to you being copper-colored races, right? What they want to label as Negro or black, right? So yeah, fam. When we're talking about the Norte Chico civilization, we're talking about you, as it is the oldest urban center in Peru, right? And urban is denoting to black, to popular black culture in general. All right. So the copper-colored races of America, right, that are originally found here, right, are being accredited unknowingly with the oldest urban city in the entire Americas. All right. We're going to keep on going, right? Cotton and food sources, right? They was using cotton since the beginning, right? They was using food and corn and fish and crops and textiles and all of this, right, from the beginning. All right. It says the Norte Chico chiefdom, right? Chiefdoms were almost certainly theocratic, though not brutally so, according to man, right? Construction areas showed possible evidence of feasting, which would have included music and likely alcohol, suggesting an elite able to do both mobilize and reward the population. The degree of centralized authority is difficult to ascertain, but architectural constructions patterns are indicative of an elite that, at least in certain places at certain times, wielded considerable power. While some of the monumental architecture was constructed incrementally, other buildings, such as two main platform mounds at Corral, appear to have been constructed in one or two intense construction phases. All right. It says, Haas suggests that the labor mobilization patterns revealed by the archaeological evidence point to a unique emergence of human government, one of two, alongside Sumer, or three if Mesoamerica is included as a separate case, while in other cases the idea of government would have been borrowed or copied in this small group. Government was invented. Other archaeologists have rejected such claims as hyperbolic. So they're saying that the ancient urban, that we are now learning are the copper-colored races of America, right? That they want to refer as quote-unquote black, right? They want to label you the urban African-American, right? You've invented government. Right? In Norte Chico, right? Which is the most ancient city in all the Americas, right? We're gonna go down here, alright? It says, when compared to the common Eurasian models of development of civilization, since, a lot of, the natives are attached to the Eurasian, right? They're attached to this area. It says, when compared to these, right? It says, Norte Chico's differences are striking. A total lack of ceramics persists across the period. So these guys didn't use ceramics, right? They didn't use all that stuff that you're used to finding when you dig up ancient cultures, right? It says the BBC observes that the Norte Chico people would have roasted their various crops with no pots to boil them. The lack of pottery was accompanied by a lack of archaeologically apparent art. In conversation with man, Alvaro Ruiz observes in the Norte Chico we see almost no visual arts. No sculptures, no carving or bas relief or bas relief. Almost no painting or drawing. The interiors are completely bare. What we do see are these huge mounds and textiles. Who does that sound like, fam? Right? You shall make no graven images of stone nor wood, right? Silver or gold, right? This culture right here didn't do none of it. Right, from the start, right? It says, while the absence of ceramics appears anomalous, the presence of textiles is intriguing. The Quipu string-based recording devices have been found at Corral, suggesting a writing or proto-writing system at Norte Chico. It says, the exact use of the Quipu in this and later Andean cultures has been widely debated. Originally, it was believed to be simply a mnemonic used to record numeric numeric information such as a count of items bought and sold. Evidence has emerged that the Quipu may have also have recorded logographic information in the same way writing does. Right, so let's check this out, right? Mnemonic or mnemonic, right? Mnemonic says it is a device, it is a memory device. It says is a learning technique that aids information retention in the human memory. So this culture right here practice what, fam? Memory. Right? Memory. And we're constantly saying what every time we come together, that this is the season of remembrance, right? This is the time to remember. So we're learning that this ancient culture dealt with memory without writing. Proto-writing, right? Before the writing, right? So I just thought that was interesting, fam. You know, I really thought these things are interesting that that they brought these to life, right? Or brought these to light, I should say. Now I wanted to show you real quick when we go back. Where is it? When we're looking at the fact that the people were moving, right? And they took their knowledge of irrigation with them. Alright, now we read that they were what? The most ancient urban city, right? And the most ancient urban city in the entire Americas. Right? And urban is denoting to what? The so-called copper color races, right? In general, right? But they misclassified you as the African American, right? So this article says that as the most ancient urban city, you took your technological advances with you, right? Your knowledge of irrigation for agriculture, right? Which then began to lead to other civilizations growing as well, right? So they told us that, you know, this was denoting a black culture, right? I wanted to show you guys something really quick, right? My bad. That I found interesting. Let's see. You know what? I think I'm gonna need that back. It's alright. We'll get it back just like this. Bear with me one moment, fam. You know what? Get right back to you. So, it says urban, right? Now I wanted to show you guys this, right? It says the human zoo. For centuries, indigenous peoples were displayed as novelties. Displayed as novelties, right? So they set you up and basically just put you on display, right? For the world to see, right? A human zoo, right? As we can see, right? And I wanted you guys to see this because it says here the Pima Indians from Arizona, right? Chief Blue Wing and Family, the Department of Anthropology from 1904 World's Fair, right? And these are the Pima Indians. Well, we get this to load, right? Now these are the Pima Indians. Alright? Now you tell me if this, you know, resembles the ancient people of Norte Chico, right? Who moved forward in their knowledge, right, with irrigation, right? They took it with them, right? And these folk right here ended up in Arizona, all right? Now, how did they find this tribe right here in Arizona, all right? All right, fam? Right? Pima Indians from Arizona. Alright, and we're talking about right, the oldest urban center in Peru and the entire Americas. Alright? The Pima Indians, right? So when we look at Corral, right, it says that it was the largest settlement in the Supe Valley near Supe, right? It says Corral is the most ancient city of the Americas and a well-studied site of Norte Chico civilization. All right, now they have a lot of these, a lot of these mounds, right? Incredible pictures of all this stuff, right? And we already went over the Kipu, right? The memory, right? The proto-writing. I wanted to make mention right here, right? It says there was no trace of warfare has been found at Corral. No battlements, no weapons, no mutilated bodies. Right? Ruth Shady's findings suggest it was a gentle society built on commerce and pleasure. It says in one of the temples they uncovered 32 flutes made of condor and pelican bones and 37 cornets and deer and llama bones. One find revealed the remains of a baby wrapped and buried with a necklace made of stone beads. Alright, so these people didn't deal in violence the way we're used to, right? They didn't have no human sacrifices, nothing like that, right? It says that they have flutes, right, of an unusual construction. Flutes, right? Musical instruments. These people were musicians, right? Wasn't the Levites musicians? I mean, we are in part 3, right? So, yeah, fam, just, wanted to make mention. Now, for those who follow me on Instagram, they've pretty much seen how I address, how I've taken witness to seeing the ancient locks of the emperor of the Mayans, right? So I wanted to show you guys, a couple of photos, if y'all don't mind, right? And you can see this is the emperor, right? Now this is on the wall, right? On the walls in the courts of Chichen Itza in Mexico, right? In Mexico, right? Now this is the emperor. He's wearing the mask, right? He's wearing the mask, and if you see, his locks, they come all the way down, right? And look past the skull, right? And you'll see that they'll go all the way down. All right? All the way down. All right? This is his hair. Okay? That's his hair. See, these are the emperors, right? You see the eye right there with the mask that he's wearing, right? His nose comes out, right? But look at the hair. See the hair? These are the locks, right? The emperor's locks went all the way down to the floor. All right? You can see it right here. It went all the way down to the floor. when I was there, right, with the fam, right, we was getting the tour, right, they knew that this was about us. They knew these people were of the copper-colored races, and they looked at me straight to the face and told me he wore locks. He wore dreadlocks. He told me these people wore dreadlocks. And then he gave us, you know, the information on the sports that they played, right, and how they dealt with their politics through sports. All right. And you can see it coming out the top like that, right? And then falling down some, right? And it's going to go down. You see this, right? Again, this is in the Yucatan, right? At Chichen Itza. Alright? Long dreads, right? These guys have long dreads. Now, you can see here the feathers in a sense, right? The feathers in his hair, so you know these is Americans, right? Or the Americans. Alright, check this out, right? You see the long hair, right? Again, this is us, fam. Right? Copper-colored races in ancient Mexico, right? You see the hair, right? Long locks, feathers. Alright? This is the hair. This is the feather headdress right here, right? But coming down is the hair, right? You see his face with the eye, the nose, the mouth, right? He has the feathers up here, and then the hair comes down to the feet once again, right? And here you have a Mayan, right, or the ancient Quiche, right, with the feathers once again. What would be his hair coming down this way. Alright, long ass locks, man, I'm telling you. They let the locks hit the floor. Alright, they was walking around locked up. Alright, and these were all emperors. Important men, right? And the feathers right there. Right? This is his face, right? With the feathers. These aren't Google images. These are my own, alright? You ain't gonna be able to really find this, you know, other than from right here. Alright? These are ours. Alright? Long locks, man. Alright? So, yeah, hold on real quick. Alright, so, I wanted to bring you guys, you know, down here to the Cherokee tab, right? And, you know, basically since I started this presentation, I've been making mention how, you know, I think I found what are said to be the Levitical cities in you know, pre-Columbian times, right here in America. So in their name, right, it says that the Cherokee referred to themselves as the Aniawea, right? The Aniawea, as the principal people, right? It also, you know, they claim it also means people who live in the mountains, right? So, I'm gonna run with those two, because I know you probably heard of another one, but I'm gonna focus on the principal people, and, you know, we can see how this ties into, you know, the people living in the mountains, right? Now, it's to my knowledge, right, that the Cherokee came from the Appalachia, right, the Appalachian Mountains, along with, many other tribes, right? And from that, that region, they worked their way into the south, right, where they ended up basically locating themselves and setting up shop, right? And it was from that region that they were basically set up to that's basically where the Europeans ran into them, right? So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna check out the earliest cultures, right? And it says much of what is known of the pre-18th century Native American culture has come from records of the Spanish expeditions. All right, so with that being said, a lot of this information comes hijacked. All right, even when we're talking about certain names, all right, like for instance, Cherokee, right? Cherokee could be a hijacked name, right? But the Aniawea, right? The Aniawea, means the principal people, right? Even though I kind of have my my own twist, I'm gonna see if we can work on that in a little bit. But so when we're dealing with the Cherokee, right? The reason why I brought them up was because they deal with certain things, right? Like last time we were dealing with them having the peace towns, right? The refuge cities. So, we're going to look into that a little bit more. We're going to see what else that they do, right? Here we can see that they had what was called this green corn ceremony, right? Now, the bro already made mention of this. I'm gonna go ahead and make mention of a little something as well. I want you guys to keep this in mind, right? The green corn ceremony, right? And it says that De Soto's expedition visited villages in the present day western Georgia and eastern Tennessee, recording them as ruled by the Coosa chiefdom, right? So these areas right here were ruled by a certain chiefdom called the Coosa, right? And it was from this area, I'm guessing or assuming, that a lot of their power came out of, right? Their authority. It says the American writer John Howard Payne wrote about the pre-19th century Cherokee culture and society. The Payne papers describe the account of the Cherokee elders of a traditional two-part societal structure. A white organization of elders represented by the 7 clans, as Payne recounted this group, which was hereditary and priestly, right? A white organization of elders represented the 7 clans, as Payne recounted this group, which was hereditary and priestly, was responsible for religious activities such as healing, purification, and prayer. Alright? It says the second group of younger men in the Red organization was responsible for warfare. The Cherokee considered warfare a polluting activity. After warfare, the warriors required purification by the priestly class before participants could reintegrate into normal village life. This hierarchy had disappeared long before the 18th century. All right, so in my interpretation, it would seem the Levitical presence in this tribe, right, was long gone by the time the Europeans showed up. Nonetheless, we can see that the practices were here, right? You had one red, right, that dealt in warfare, and it was that basically the whole of the tribe considered warfare a polluting activity. And it was the job of those in the white organization of elders to come and clear for religious, or clean, right, and make pure again for the religious purposes, right? Because they were the priests, right? So I want to go ahead and take a little look further, right, into this principal people, right? And as we get into this principal people, right, the principal, main, principal, chief, dominant, most important, also great, large, right? Main, most important of persons, princely, high ranking, right? First in importance, original, first man, chief, leader. First man, chief, leader, all right? Principal in the noun form, ruler or governor, all right? It says person in charge, right? Oh, this is for the school, so we're gonna leave that alone. All right, so we just mean ruler or governor. All right. The Pisgah phase, right? This was located in the northeastern, right, in the northeastern part of Tennessee, and western North Carolina, and northwestern South Carolinas. All right. Now these were people of the woodland culture, right? So if you've been watching 1 and 2, you know how the woodland culture was significant, right? Especially when it came to those cedar trees, right? You know why they chose the woods, right? The forests. So it says the Pisgah phase sites range from individual farmsteads to large nucleated villages with platform mounds and palisades, right? Palisades are the fences. So you had these large platform mounds that were fenced off, right? Just as the Levites were commanded to do. They were commanded to make borders around their cities, right? It says usually with the smaller sites clustering around the larger mound centers, they were invariably located with floor plains. It says the exceptions being temporary hunting grounds, right? Or hunting camps, my bad. And it says that by these hunting camps, that the majority, or through these, it says, I'm sorry, the majority of these sites are located in the eastern and central Appalachian summit area around the Asheville, Pigeon, and Hendersonville basins. It says some Pisgah phase sites, such as the Garden Creek Mound, have been found to have earth lodges during early phases of their occupation, right? So we see that it was this Pisgah phase, right, that did really well, or that basically got involved with the building of the mounds, right? So they were the mound builders, right? Here's a Tel, right? We're in the blue letter Bible for Tel, or Tal, right? And Tal is what? A mound, right? A heap, right? A heap, or a hill, something elevated on which a city stood, right? A mound, right? It says from the hills or mounds, right? Hills of ears of corn, right? Now, we've been digging on this indigenous truth, right? And the corn is the major factor, no matter how you try to play it, right? Because it deals with an important source of location, especially if it's indigenous, right? Now, we know that Noah, being the autochthon, right, the ancient Floridian, you know, if he built that boat, right, if he built that ship from the wood of Florida, it's safe to assume that he packed that corn when he left, right? So if that boat landed over there in Asia, then it's pretty understandable how that corn got there, right? If you haven't checked it out, check it out. Alright? So we're talking about tau, right? Mound, tau. Mound means tau, right? Tau means mound. Tau. Right? Here we have Abib, right? Now Talabib, right? It means corn. It means ears of corn, right? Green ears of corn, right? Green ears of corn. It's even the month, right? It'll tell you not mine. I wonder why though. Especially if it's the hijack, right? Right? Why would they say ears of corn, right? Ears, green ears of corn, right? But they tell you not mine on purpose. Alright? So that's how I see the hijack, right? Now, if you have Tal Abib, right? Which is a mound of corn, or hills of ears of corn, right? How would this make sense with not having no corn? Alright? Now, the reason why I'm saying that is because of what? When we're looking at the Cherokee, right? They get down in the green corn ceremony, right? So, let's see what this is, right? It's green corn ceremony. It says the green corn ceremony, right, known as the busk, is an annual ceremony practiced among various Native American peoples associated with the beginning of the yearly corn harvest, right? It says busk is a term given to the ceremony by white traders, the word being a corruption of the Creek word Paskita for a fast. So this is dealing with a fast, right? And you know the people of that book, right? This is how they did their feast, right? So it says the green corn ceremony, right? The green corn. Now this said what? Green corns of ear, or green ears of corn, right? Sorry. Right? Take that back. I didn't mean to click on that. Right? Green ears of corn. Now this is the green corn ceremony. It says it is a celebration of many types representing new beginnings. New beginnings, right? Isn't this Tal Abib, right? The month Abib, right? Growing of green, right? March or April. Isn't this our new year, right? So this says new beginnings, right? It is also referred to as the Great Peace Ceremony. It is a celebration of thanksgiving to the breath maker, right? For the first fruits of the harvest, right? The first fruits of the harvest, right? Oops, this one. It says the bus celebration is the celebration of the new year, right? So at this time, all offenses are forgiven except for rape and murder, which are executable or banishable offenses, all right? Offenses. So you can get banned or you can even be executed for doing either, one of these things. Everything else would be forgiven during this time of the new year, right? It says in modern tribal towns and stomp dance societies, only ceremony of fire, right? So we know this is hijack because it says in modern, right? It says only the ceremony of fire, the fire cooks, and certain other ceremonial objects will be replaced. Everyone usually begins gathering by the weekend prior to the ceremony, working, praying, dancing, and fasting off and on until the big day. Alright. Says day one. The first day of the ceremony People set up their campsites on one of the square ceremonial grounds. Following this, there is a feast of the remains of last year's crop, which all of the men in the community begin fasting. It says historically the women were considered too weak to participate. Alright, that night there is a social stump dance unique to the Muskogee and southeastern cultures. Alright, it says before dawn on the second day, 4 brush covered arbors are set up on the edges of the ceremonial grounds, one in each of the sacred directions. For the first dance of the day, the women of the community participate in a ribbon or ladies' dance, which involves fastening rattles and shells to their legs, perform a purifying dance with special ribbon-clad sticks to prepare the ceremonial ground for the renewal ceremony. The ceremonial fire is set in the middle of 4 logs laid crosswise so as to point to the 4 directions. The Miko, or the head priest, takes out a little of each of the new crops, not just corn, but beans, squash, wild plants, and others, rubbed with bear oil, and it is offered together with some meat as first fruits and atonement for all sins. The fire, which has been relit and nurtured with a special medicine by the Miko, will be kept alive until the following year's green corn ceremony. In traditional times, the women will sweep out their cook's fire in the rest of their homes and collect the filth from this, as well as any old clothing and furniture, to be burnt and replaced with new items for the new year. Alright, so it's a trip because it says that they would go ahead and do what? Offer up their first fruits, right? So let's dig on this, right? My bad. Leviticus 2:13, right? It says, "In every oblation of thy meat offering shalt thou season with salt, neither shalt thou suffer the salt of the covenant of thy God to be lacking from thy meat offering, which all thine offerings thou shalt offer salt. And if you offer a meat offering of thy firstfruits unto the Most High Yahweh, thou shalt offer for the meat offering of thy firstfruits green ears of corn, dried by the fire, even corn beaten out of the full ears. And thou shalt put oil upon it and lay frankincense thereon it. It is a meat offering." A meat offering, right? It says from an unused root, meaning to apportion, right? That is bestow, a donation, a tribute, right? Specifically a sacrificial offering, usually bloodless and voluntary. Bloodless, alright? So this ain't the meat that you're used to then, right? If they're telling you that this is bloodless, right? This ain't the meat that you're used to, right? I mean, we're talking about corns and first fruits, right? Green ears of corn, alright? So, it seems like they were following the Talabib, right? Talabib. They celebrate the new month, right? I mean the new year, I'm sorry. In the month of Abib, right? Which is the month of the corn. Right? And it's called the what? Green corn ceremony. Right? It says right here, right? Historically in the Seminole tribe, 12-year-old boys are declared men at the green corn ceremony and given new names by the chief as a mark of their maturity. I mean, what does this sound like, fam? Right? What does this sound like right here? 12-year-old boys? 12, right? For them 12 tribes, right? Y'all following me? This is the Coosa chiefdom, right? The Coosa chiefdom was a powerful Native American paramount chiefdom near what are now Gordon and Murray counties in Georgia. It was inhabited from around 1400 until 1600 and dominated several smaller chiefdoms, right? It says the total population of the area influence reaching up into present-day Tennessee and Alabama has been estimated at 50,000. All right. It says the Coosa chiefdom was centered along the Coosawhattie River in present-day Gordon and Murray counties in northwestern Georgia. The capital of Coosa, as a modern archaeological site, is known as Little Egypt. All right, Little Egypt. It says the Cherokee first appeared to use the word Coosa to mean the Creek people of the upper towns who were the competitors and enemies. According to James Mooney, they called the Tuskegee Creek Anacusa or Anagusa from Coosa, their principal town, right? English speakers adopted Coosa as a frontier English version of the early Cherokee word. The contemporary Cherokee name for all Creek Indians is Anacusa. Right? The Anacusa, the Anagusa. Alright, so this was a chieftain town, right, that the Cherokee had, you know, and they would use it as a religious standpoint, right, to uphold their authority. So we'll check out this word right here, right? 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 It means father of an individual, right? It says of God as father of his people, right? The head or founder of a household, group, family, or clan, right? It says grandfather or forefathers, right? Originator or patron or patron, of a class, right? Profession or an art. And down here we get what? Ruler or chief, right? We get principal, right? The chief or the principal. Now I find it crazy that they refer to themselves as the Ani, right? Where is it? The Aniyawiya, right? Aniyawiya, right? The Ani, right? And when we go here, it says Abi, right? Principal though, right? So similar sound. Abi Ani, right? Abi Ani, principal, right? Cherokee word, what? The principal people, right? Go to Ani Kutani, right? The Ani Kutani were the ancient priesthood of the Cherokee people. According to Cherokee legend, the Ani Kutani were slain during a mass uprising by the Cherokee people approximately 300 years prior to European contact. This uprising was sparked by the fact that the Ani Kutani had become corrupt and conducted sexual improprieties. The ancient structure of the Cherokee society and the Cherokee clans were closely linked to the beliefs of the Ani Kutani. And it sounds like your Levitical priesthood right here, right? And then the bro just let us know how, something happened, right? And they took this this curse, right? And they were put under a curse, right? Which was something wicked, right? So as we remember, as we were looking at the Norte Chico culture, right? Their practice is remembrance, right? And as we remember these things, we can now see what happened, right? It says that Ani Kutani might be connected to the long-haired clan or the fire priest that existed in historic times, right? They were either a clerical class or a hereditary clan, right? Ani is a prefix referring to a group of individuals, while the meaning of Kutani is unknown. Alright? And the more I dig on this, fam, the more Hebrew it gets, right? It gets even more and more Hebrew for us, right? With this indigenous wave attached to it. Alright, so this is the Ani Kutani, right? The priesthood of the Cherokee. Right? And here we have your Levitical cities, right? So we know that Abi and Ani, right, have similar sounds, right? This being the principle, right? Abi, right? Abi, right? Being the principle, right? These being the priests, right? So now we get to the Levites. Now the Levites had 6 cities, right? Which were said to be refuge. 6 cities out of the whole 48, right? Which left 42 free, right? 6 cities. And out of those 6 cities, right? It says Bashan, right? Where Og, right, the king of Bashan, came out against the Israelites at the time of their entrance into the promised land, right? But was utterly routed, right? It said that Golan, one of the cities of Bashan, became a Levitical city and a city of refuge, right? So they tried to make their way, and they were turned down by King Og, right, of Bashan, right? And right here, we read that what? Where is it? I'm looking for the right here, right? It says Kusa meant the Creek people, who were the competitors and enemy, right? But it says also that Kusa was the principal city or the principal town, right? It was their principal town for the Creek, right? But the Cherokee ended up taking over it. It says the Cherokee occupied this region, right? But these were the enemies, right? See that? So I just thought that, this should be highlighted as we were reading this, right? And when we're dealing with the high priest of Israel, right? The Khans, right? Or the Kohens, right? The Kains, right? The Kains, right? The cons. It says the high priest belonged to the Israelite priestly families that traced their paternal line back to Aaron, the first high priest of Israel and the elder brother of Moses through Sadak, right? Leading a priest at the time of David and Solomon. Right? So, it says the succession was to be through one of his sons and was to remain in his own family. If he had no son, the office developed upon the next brother next of age. Such appears to have been the practice in the Hasmonean period, right? So this was what? Through hereditary, right? Right. Right here, right? It says a white organization of elders represented the 7 clans, right? As Payne recounted, this group which was hereditary and priestly, right? So we read that you can only be involved through the family, right? So we see that this was a hereditary practice, right? All right, here we have the Cherokee clans, right? Now it says the Cherokee clans are traditional social organizations of the Cherokee society. It says they are hereditary and matrilineal. Children are considered to belong to the mother's clan. Alright. Now we know this is a bit reversed, right, than what we're used to. Right? So we're just gonna, pass through the hijack, right? It says the Cherokee society was historically a matrilineal society, meaning children belonged to the mother's clan, and hereditary leadership and property were passed through the maternal line. It says traditionally women were considered the head of the household among the Cherokee, right? With the home and children belonging to her, she should separate from a husband, and maternal uncles were considered more important than fathers. So that's like, I don't know, in my mind that just sounds super hijacked, right? Because you have kids with a woman, and then even though she can't have kids without you, her line and her family completely push you to the side, right? And that doesn't sound like it makes too much sense, but I mean, anyways, it says the Cherokee clans held the only corrosive power within Cherokee society. It was forbidden to marry within one's clan or to someone in the clan of one's father. Such marriage was considered incest and punishable by death at the hands of the offender's own clan and by no other. I mean, this sounds completely biblical, right? Like straight out the text, right, fam? It says the clan was also responsible for balancing the death of one of its members at the hands of the member of another clan, whether deliberate, impulsive, or accidental. The one to pay the penalty did not have to be the person responsible. It can be any member of his or her clan. Indeed, the intentional or unintentional killer escaped or found sanctuary in one of the towns so designated, such as Kota, Kituwa, and Tuvalu. The fugitive's clan was expected to deliver up another one of its members. The purpose of this was not retaliation, but equalization. Alright, so we have right here located the 3 refuge cities, right? And when we were dealing with the Levitical, right, he said only 6 or it says, I'm sorry, it says only 6 were to be cities of refuge, right? Only 6. So here we're looking at this tab and we find what? 3. 1, 2, 3, right? So we got half right here inside the clan of Cherokee, right? This tribe, right? So let's go ahead and check it out, right? We got the Kota, right? It's a Cherokee town, right? The Kota or the Ikota, right? The Sati. It's a historic over here Cherokee town, right? It's in Monroe County. Alright, Monroe County, Tennessee, in the southeastern United States, developing after nearby Tennessee, right? Tennessee, right? Tennessee is how we say Tennessee. Alright, before it was Tennessee, it was Tennessee. We either say Tennessee or Tennessee. Alright, Tennessee. Says developing after nearby Tennessee from the late 1740s until 1788, Kota was the most important of the overhill towns, replacing Tennessee as the de facto capital of the Cherokee people. Alright. It says the former Kota and Tennessee sites are listed together on the National Register of Historic Places. The Tanaji also has an archaeological site designation, whatever this would be, in 1972, right? It says both sites have been mostly submerged by the Toledo Lake impoundment of the Little Tennessee River. Archaeological excavations were conducted before the dam was completed. Alright. So it says this is the Kota monument situated directly above the ancient townhouse site consists of 8 pillars, 1 for each of the 7 Cherokee clans and 1 for the nation. Alright. So this is one of the cities right here, right? Kota or Ikota, right? Ikota, right? Or Kota. It's refuge city number 1 right here, right? It's a total of 6, and this is the first one. This is Kituwa. The Cherokee believe the ancient settlement of Kituwa is their original settlement and is one of the 7 mother towns in the southeast. Alright? It is in Swain County, North Carolina, in the Great Smoky Mountains. Alright, so this is in the mountains right here, right? And it's another one of the ancient cities, right? It says Kituwa is the site of an ancient earthwork mound likely built by the Mississippian culture about 1000 CE. The Cherokee held the site sacred after settling there in a later time. Although the vegetation on the mound was burned repeatedly by the Cherokee for agriculture during the colonial period and plowed over for corn cultivation since the Indian removal in the 1830s, the mound is still visible. So it's still there, right? It says mound building by people of the various woodland and Mississippian cultures was common throughout the Mississippi Basin and Ohio Valley. This included Tennessee to the west, Georgia to the southeast, Louisiana to the southwest, and Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, and Missouri to the northwest. It says the Mississippian culture was documented as established in the western North Carolina from 1000 CE. Aurora, right? Aurora was a regional chiefdom in this culture. Additional Mississippian culture sites have been identified extending southwest to the village later called Kituwa. The Mississippian culture peoples were a part of a vast trade networks that connected chiefdoms throughout the present-day eastern United States. archaeologists believe the people of the smaller chiefdoms were eventually absorbed by the developing larger Catawba and Cherokee tribes. Alright? So this ancient town, Kitwa, right, was referred to one of the major 7 cities, or the major 7 mother towns. Right? And again, these are the 3 cities, right? The 3 cities of refuge found right here in Cherokee territory, right? It says Tougaloo was a Cherokee town on the Tougaloo River at the mouth of Toccoa Creek, right? The town's proper name in Cherokee was Dugil, right? In English, it was spelled variously as Tugalu or Tugala Tugala or Tugala. Its meaning in Cherokee is uncertain, but it seems to refer to a place at the forks of a stream. Alright? Tougaloo was one of the Chickamauga, right? Cherokee lower towns, the principal being Kiowa. Alright? So, this specific region, the Tougaloo, right? Or the Tugala, right? Was one of the Chickamauga, right? Chickamauga Cherokee. Alright, so keep the Chickamauga in mind, right? So we're gonna touch on that, fam. It was the principal, it was one of the lower towns, and the principal city of one of those towns were Kiowa, right? Of ancient Cherokee. Alright, so we're gonna dig on this real quick. Right? The Aniyawiya, right? The Aniyawiya. I was thinking like Ani Hawa or something like that, right? Ani Hawa. I don't know. But you get what I'll be trying to do, right? Fit it in. Because we can see that it's a ya in there, right? So, and just my, as I assume, right? Aniyawiya, right? I gotta find some way to throw Hawa in there, right? You'll see why, right? So, they were, referred to as the 5 civilized tribes much later, right? It says the Aniyawiya, right? The Aniyawiya, right? Aniyawiya, right? Principal people, or those who live in the mountains, right? I'm gonna bring you guys down here, right? It says the Cherokee are tall, erect, moderately robust, right? Their limbs well shaped so as generally to form a perfect human figure. Their features regular, countenance open, dignified, and placid. Yet the forehead and brow are so formed as to strike you instantly with heroism and bravery. The eye, though rather small, yet active and full of fire. The iris always black, and the nose commonly inclining to the equiline, right, or the aquiline, right, aquiline. It says their countenance and actions exhibit an air of magnanimity, superiority, and independence. Their complexion is a reddish brown or copper color, right? Their hair thick, lank, coarse, and black as a raven, and reflecting like luster at different exposures to the light. The women of the Cherokees are tall, slender, erect, and of a delicate frame, their features formed with perfect symmetry, the countenance cheerfully and friendly, and they move with a becoming grace and dignity. Alright? The description, right? So you know they're talking about you, right? It says the Tuscarora War also marks the rise of the Cherokee military power demonstrated in the 1714 attack and the destruction of the Yuchi town of the Chestatui in today southeastern Tennessee. Alright? So the Cherokee, was heavily in Tennessee, right? Which is why I'm breaking this down for y'all, right? Now, I want to come down here really quick, as we see, right, the white organization of elders, right? And we got the warfare, right? The red, right? I want to read this, right? It says the Cherokee believed that every aspect and thing had a spirit presiding over it, but did not hold a belief in multiple gods. All figures identified as gods were simply greater beings in the Cherokee belief, whose names were so great there were no English words for them, and thus they were recognized as gods by Englishmen. However, the Cherokee paid direct respect to and worshiped only the Great Spirit, Hawa. You see how it says Hawa? Now they put Yowa, but we know the Ha came before the Yo, right? So it's Hawa, a name so sacred that only a priest could say it, who presided over all things and created Mother Earth. The Great Spirit, Hawa, right? So, the Ani Yangwia, right? The Ani Young Hawa. Ani Young Hawa, alright? The Ani Young Hawa. Alright, that's how I put my twist on it. The Ani Young Hawa, alright? Ani Yang. Ani right? Ani I mean, isn't that the name? Right? Ani Yang, right? Oh, y'all thought I was joking? Ani Yang, right? Ani Ani I am the people, or lamnin of the people, a man of Manasseh, right? Ani am, an Israelite. So you see how the names are similar, right? The Ani Yangwia, right? Or the Ani Yang Hawa. The Ani Yang Hawa, right? The Ani Am. You guys see that? Ani. So, I mean, are we speaking Hebrew now or what? The Ani Yang Hawa. Y'all follow? The sorrow of the people, right? I mean, it's spelled literally almost exactly the same, right? And this ain't no coincidence, right? So the hijack refers to us as the Cherokee, right? But the Ani Yang Hawa, right? Ani Yang Hawa, right? The Ani Yang. Now, when I said that, I wanted to expose a more personal side to myself, I meant it. So, here we have Johnson, right? Johnson is my mother's name, right? And I broke it down, right? It says Johnson is a name that comes from the given name John, right? And the name literally means son of John. The given name John is derived from the Hebrew name Johanan, right? Or Johanan, right? Johanan, right? The name was extremely popular in the Middle Ages as a result of the numerous connections between the name John and the Christian church. Right? So this John has Hebrew origins, right? And I'm not talking about Oannes. Right? Even though that's where that come from, right? Right? Hawa Canaan, right? Hawa Canaanan. Hawa Ho Canaan, right? And who do you see under this name, right? Hawa Canaan, right? Hawa Canaan. Says a priest during the high priesthood of Joachim, who returned from Zerubbabel, right? High priest, right? Levite, right? A returning exile. Right? High priest, right? Only the Levites were high priests, right? Right? And when we remove the hijack, all we get is what? The name of 8 Israelites. Right? Now, wasn't we dealing with the 7 clans, right? 1 for the nation, right? So 8. Right? And the name Johnson, right? Johnson, right? Son of John, right? Y'all see it, right? So, this is Johnson County, Tennessee. Alright. Johnson County, Tennessee. Now, my mom, you know, took her name through her father, and her father got that name through his father, and his father, you know, so on. Right? And, my second great-grandfather, right? He was born in Tennessee, and so was his wife, right? Now, his name was Johnson, right? And he and his wife, being both from Tennessee, right? Her last name before she married him was Carter. And as you can see, it says right here, Johnson County was created in 1836 from parts of Carter County. Alright? So this is not a coincidence that, you know, on my mom's side, they're coming from the Johnsons, which happens to be a county that was created from part of another county called Carter. And my second great grandfather was a Johnson who ended up marrying his wife, who was a Carter. Both being from Tennessee. And we've been learning what about Tennessee? It's been Cherokee country, right? Johnson County, Carter County, right? Carter County is part of Johnson County in the state of Tennessee. Alright? Here we have the Chickamauga, right? Or what some people would say, the Chickamauga Cherokee, right? The Chickamauga, right? It says the Chickamauga or the Chickamauga Cherokee were a group that separated from the greater body of the Cherokee tribes during the American Revolution. The majority of the Cherokee people wished to make peace with the American rebels near the end of 1776, following several military setbacks and reprisals that followed. The Chickamauga followers of Headman Dragging Canoe moved with him down the Tennessee River away from their historic overhill Cherokee towns in the winter of 1776 through 1777. They relocated in a more isolated area. They established 11 new towns in order to gain distance from the colonists. 11. The frontier Americans associated Dragging Canoe and his band with their new town on the Chickamauga Creek and began to refer to them as Chickamaugas. 5 years later, the Cherokee were once more moved further west and southwest into what is now called Alabama, establishing 5 larger settlements. They were then more commonly known as the Lower Cherokee. This term was closely associated with the people of these 5 lower towns. Alright, the Chickamauga, right? So, they were the set apart tribe, right? That separated and, became rebels. Right? They became rebels. Right? They were fighting, right? They fought against the American, right? Or I should say, the European that stole our title, right? So, because everybody else wanted peace, right? The rest of the Cherokee wanted peace. They broke off, and they became the Chickamauga, right? This right here is, as you can see, this is Hickman County, Tennessee, right? And I'm showing you this because this is where my second great-grandfather and grandmother were born, as I told you, on my mom's side, right? And this is where he was from, right? It says Hickman County was named for Edwin Hickman, an explorer and surveyor who was killed in an Indian attack in 1971. It says the county was established in 1807 and named for Hickman at the suggestion of Robert Weekly, a legislator who had been a member of Hickman's surveying party. Hickman in Duck River Valley was originally claimed by the Chickasaw people of western Tennessee and northern Mississippi. Among its first white settlers was John Gordon, the famous captain of spies who later fought at Horseshoe Bend and at Pensacola under Andrew Jackson. Alright. It says Gordon acquired land in Chickasaw Territory and what is now Hickman County on the banks of the Duck River, where in a partnership with a Chief William Chushamataha Colbert, he operated a ferry and Indian trading post for settlers traveling on the Natchez Trace. Alright, so as we see, right, this was originally Chickasaw Territory, which is where we would get the Chickamauga from, right? My bad, fam. It get a little crazy sometimes, you know what I mean? But like I was saying, this was supposedly Chickasaw land, right? But it seems like they was doing deals with the enemy, and it seems like these folks kept the kicker part, right? Now this Mwaga, I don't know what this is, but it has to have a meaning, right? And it seems that they joined the two names and then they became, the Cherokee, right? Maybe the Chickasaw and the Cherokee mixed and, they created this one, right? The remnant that was left in Cherokee, in Tennessee, right? It says it was originally claimed by the Chickasaw people, western Tennessee, right? So, let's check this John Gordon, right? It says this John Gordon was an American pioneer, Indian trader, planter, and militia captain in several Indian wars. All right. It says that Gordon was an early settler in the Nashville, Tennessee area, right? Says he gained nobility and rank in Tennessee militia fighting against the Creeks and Seminoles for Andrew Jackson during the War of 1812. Jackson referred to him as his captain of the spies, right? Says partnering with a Chickasaw chieftain, right? Says Gordon was born in Spotsylvania County, Virginia, to an aristocratic land-holding family. His father had fought in the War for Independence as a lieutenant and settled the family in Nashville after the war. Right? It says as a young man, John Gordon made a name for himself as an Indian fighter, riding with the militia to investigate reports of attacks on cabins and farmsteads around Nashville. In 1793, he was commissioned by Territorial Governor William Blount as a captain in the militia. In 1794, he rode in the Nickajack campaign against the Chickamauga Cherokee, who violently defended their Tennessee River Gorge homeland. All right. The Chickamauga, right? So, he was known, right? This John Gordon, excuse me, this John Gordon, who was one of the first settlers in Hickman, right? Was an Indian fighter who fought against the Chickamauga, right? Well, before we go there, right, I want to share you guys, some pictures that I have, right? And this hasn't really been disclosed or shared with anyone. I'm sharing it with the tribe. You know what I mean? Because, not too many people care about this subject that we're digging on. Not too many people care about this indigenous truth. And even if I wanted to speak on it, I technically got no one to really speak on it with. I build with a small few, but everyone in my family or everyone, around me is still pretty, fresh or wet behind the ears when it comes to this. I was able to put my mom up on it, and it's definitely been transformational, and it's definitely helped us together. But for the most part, we still have a lot of work to do to reach in the rest of our fam. And not too many people care, fam, but I did some digging and I found amazing results. So I'm gonna share with you guys, if you don't mind, a little slideshow, and we're gonna dig into what's natural to me. All right. And I don't care what anybody got to say. You know, it is what it is, and our history's not pretty. But nonetheless, you know, I'm happy to be, you know, who I am, and I'm happy to come where I come from. All praises to our Creator, Hawa. All praises for, you know, giving me the call to answer, you know, and I was able to pick up just in time. So I'm going to go ahead and check out, you know, with the beginning of my ancestors. This would be my second great grandfather. Both of them are from Hickman, as I was telling you, right? And you can see it in my great grandfather's face, right? You can see the indigenous, right? The Choctaw in him, right? And you can see his wife, right? Both of them born in Hickman, Tennessee, all right? And to much of our records, both are full-blown Cherokee, right? Our families always told us we was Cherokee. I mean, we know we got maybe other nations, but, you know, the tribe, you know, that's passed down to us specifically was Cherokee through this Chickamauga, right? And my grandfather, you know, he always told me that growing up, that's all they did was fight. They fought all the time, right? So I know she was born in 1866, right? And I assume he would be born around the same timing. As you'll see, you know, they eventually got married and there's paperwork, all right? But yeah, this is my second great grandfather and grandmother. His name is Louis Wesley Johnson, and her name is Amanda June Carter. This is Carter, this is Johnson, all right? Carter, Johnson, Johnson, Carter. Now remember, they both have counties named after them, all right? This would be my second great grandfather Lewis's great grandmother, which is why she's painted. They didn't have any pictures back then, so, you know, she got her picture painted, right? But as you can see the structure and the lit, right? Now I'm sharing this with y'all because I know, you know, off the top you'd be like, whoa, bruh, she's light, you know. But as you'll see, you know, as we continue to look at my family's pics, appearances and everything, and it's, you know, it took me a lot to accept, but as I dug, you know, I pretty much got the answer. All right, so this would be my great grandfather's great grandmother, right? And he came out looking like this. So something's going on here, all right? All right. So I guess she would be born around the 1700s or so. I'm not sure. I don't really have too many records or information on that. I'm still digging to find out. And I don't even have a name, but I do have this image, which is, you know, a lot more than nothing. So this is his great grandmother, okay? And knowing what I know about, you know, through my research on both families, the Johnsons and the Carters, it seems that they migrated from North Carolina, which is Cherokee country, all right? this would be my great grandfather, right? My grandfather's father, his dad. This is his dad right here, and his two brothers. All right. So you can see his brother came out a little, a bit darker, right? And it seems that this one came out in between, right? He came out in between too. So this is my great grandfather and his two brothers, right? Which is their children, right? Their children right here. These two got these two, all right? And there's some sisters involved. They have some sisters we'll check out too, right? And again, this is my second great grandmother. And again, this is on my mom's side, all right? I'm checking out my mom's part on this particular presentation. And as you can see, her hair, all right? She's a melanated rich woman. All right. And this is her daughter. All right. Now, you can see, right? All right, I'm gonna go to the next one. And this is another daughter. Her name is Callie Mae Campbell. This is her son, Melvin Campbell. All right, and this would be my great grandfather's sister. So she would be my great aunt. And she, as you can see, came out dark, and her son came out dark as well. All right, so in our family, we throw light, we throw dark at the same time. That's just how we come. Some come dark, some come light. All right, that's how we drop out. As you'll see, her brother, well, one of her brothers too, were more lighter than she is. Okay, so she came out with that, copper color, right? That Noah Webster's 1828, and she was straight, right? This is Melvin again, right? And this would be his sister. All right, his sister, right? And these are, I think this is his son with this woman right here, and this is just, the rest of their immediate family, right? But this is my great cousin Melvin, and this would be his sister. All right, you can see it in the phenotypes, right? In the face, right? You can see it in his face, right? And you can see her here, right? She made it all the way to Egypt, right, fam? So I made it to the pyramids over here in Mexico, and she didn't went all the way to Africa. So, our family's definitely, into some things. I never, was able to meet her, so I have no clue about this picture in Egypt, or how she got there, or who she was to get there, but she made it, right? So, you see she's of the copper color, right? Yeah. Right, so we're gonna go ahead and keep on looking. I want to show you guys my great grandfather, right? This is him, right? Now this is my great grandfather. As you can see, he came out a little more yellowish, but it's all right. Because like I proved to you, they throw, right? Dark and yellow, right? Now, this is his niece, right? She's the daughter of her. And this is her son, Melvin, right? So, this is my great-grandfather's sister. Alright, fam? So, we're gonna keep on going. This is my great-grandfather right here. He was born in Tennessee as well. Alright? Now, this is my grandfather, my mother's dad. Alright? Now, pay attention to his face, and you see how he pops out on this picture. Right? Little copper-colored boy. Fresh all over the picture, right? But keep in mind, fam, he's yellow, just like his father. Alright? But he pops out like this in black and white, right? And it kind of lets me know that even though this is a black and white picture, and even though technically he's a light-skinned person, he's all melanin. Because when that picture shows up in black and white, all you see and all the lens captures his melanin. Alright? You wouldn't be able to say any better, right? This is his sister, what would be his little sister, right? Or maybe his older sister, I'm not sure. But this is his sister. And this is another one of his sisters. Alright? And this is when they were kids. Alright? And this is my grandfather again. This is his mother. Right? And that's his father. Alright, so this is my great-great-grandfather, my great-great-grandmother, and this is my grandfather right here, my mom's dad. And they're all from Tennessee, Hickman. Alright? They're all from Hickman. Alright? And this is her up close. Alright, so you can see why he came out light skinned, right? And this is my grandfather's mom. Alright. And that's it for that one. So from here I've showed you guys my great-great-grandfather and my great-grandfather. I'm going to show you my grandmother now, my mom's mom, right? My fault. Hold on real quick, fam. Alright, so this is my grandmother, my mom's mom, and she was born in Mississippi, alright? And this real mother, but this is not her real father, and these are her half siblings. All right, this is my my grandmother though. All right, now I'm giving you her story backwards, obviously, because she's younger right here. All right, so we're gonna go like that. Now this is my grandmother, right? And this is my mom with her Indian pigtails, right? She got her braids. And these are her siblings. This is my auntie. Shout out to my auntie if you watching. What's going on, auntie? I didn't get no permission, or I didn't ask, you know. I just put these people up. So y'all be nice, alright? Y'all be nice when y'all looking at my fam, alright? Or, you know, we will have a problem. Now, this is my grandmother, right? Would be my great aunt, right? My dad's aunt, my grandfather's auntie. It would be his father's sister, Callie Mae, right? And this is my grandmother. So you're looking at two autochthonous women, right? One from Tennessee, one from Mississippi, right? My mother's mom right here. Both of that copper color, right? This is my grandmother again, right? You know how you Google Cherokee and you get, you know, weird pictures, right? You Google Choctaw, you get weird pictures and paintings, right? Of colored people, but they don't seem to look like the colored people you used to, right? Well, this is my grandmother. Rest in power, right? She was a beautiful soul. She provided a good example. An example that I still carry still on today. Alright. This is her still. Alright. You can see, right there for yourself, right? She's from Mississippi, right? Again, y'all taking into a look at what's, you know, what it is to be me naturally, right? This is my grandmother, alright, through my mom's side. So, yeah, right. And then, before I show y'all that, hold on really quick. Alright, so, before I get on with the rest of the pics, I want to show you this, right? It says, State of Tennessee, Hickman County, right? And this is a marriage license. Alright? This is a marriage license. Alright? And this was between my great-great-grandfather Lewis Johnson and his wife Amanda June Carter. Right? As you can see, Lewis Johnson, Mandy June Carter, right? This is their marriage license, right? And they got married at the county clerks on June 11th in 1897. All right, and as you see next to his name, there's this, right? What looks to be like COL, right? Every time he signed his name, he signed like that, COL, right? And when they got married, right? His COL, right, lined up with hers, and now there's just a bunch of COLs everywhere, right? So I think this is for colored, right? Colored, which would make these the autochthons, right? Alright, fam. So, as I was saying, it would make them what we consider the talk tongue, right? The original. Right? What they would consider Indian. Alright, so that's Lewis Johnson and that's Mandy June Carter. Alright? And that's these folk right here. These two. Alright? So this was in 1897 and right, as you can see, right, as we can see, this is the death certificate, right, and she was born in Hickman, right, in Prim, state of Tennessee, right, Amanda Carter, right. Color, right? Hickman, right? 1866. She was born on the 23rd, right? And I was born on the 25th. Sometime later, right? And she was a widow. So that tells me that my second great grandfather died before she did at some point, right? So yeah, I'm showing you this because I'm showing you guys that she's from Hickman, right? And she's classified as colored, right? And you know, that's where she was from, you know. Here is my great grandfather, right? My mom's my mom's dad's father, and as you see, he was born in Hickman County, right, in 1903. And they got married in 1897, right? So they were colored, right? And he was born a Negro. Hickman County, right? The same folks, right? I just showed y'all my folks, right? These are my folks right here, right? So they were registered colored. Alright? They were registered colored. And they were registered colored when they got married, 1897. 6 years later, my great grandfather's born a Negro. Same county, Hickman County, Tennessee. Alright, his father was Lewis Wesley Johnson. His mother's maiden name was Amanda Carter. Tennessee, Tennessee. Negro. Tennessee. Right? In the rural. Right? In the rural. Rural. Right? Rural. So, made me want to look up rural, right? It says, in relating to or characteristic of the countryside rather than the town, right? The countryside, right? The rustic, right? The pastoral, right? It says the antonym of urban, right? Country. Country. A district, native land, right? Lying land or lying opposite or land spread before one. Native land or district, right? Same thing, right? Native land, right? So I just take, you guys there one time, right? Might as well, since we're here, right? Right. Yeah. So you can do it too, right? So country, right? Native land, right? And the American was the native of America originally applied to the Aboriginals or the copper-colored races, the Autochthon. Alright? So I'm showing you, right? This is my people right here, right? And it says that he was born in Hickman County in the rural spot, right? The rural. Right? And rural means what? Country, right? Related to countryside rather than the town, right? Country, right? Countryside, literally side of a country, a valley, a mountain range, right? Any tract of land having a natural unity, natural by law, right? A mountain range, right? Haven't we been digging on them being the mountain people, right? Those who live in the mountains, right? One side of the country, right? And when we got there, we got what? Native land, right? Right? But their son was born a Negro. Alright? And he was from the native land of Tennessee. Alright? And through oral tradition, right? Through oral tradition, right? My grandfather always told us that we were Cherokee, right? And so it is the American thing to remember, right? As we seen that It's the most ancient of cultures to remember, right? The practice to remember. So as I remember, as you remember with me, right? I learn these things. I learn these things with y'all. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish it out. Right. Now this is my mom's when she graduated, right? You see she got the young cap and gown on. You feel me? She got her cheese cracking, you know. She happy she did her thing, right? And my mom was born out here, right? Out here in California. And so was I. But her dad is from Tennessee, right? This spot right here was Hickman County, right? And this is her pops, right? This is her mom. Alright. This is my mom, right? And this is my mom right here, right? And this is my dad, right? And you see the hair. Now I know they had some things going back then, you know, and I ain't got no permission for these pics that I'm using, but this is who I come from. Alright, this is where I come from, so this is me. You guys are looking at me. And if you guys, you know, appreciate this presentation, there'll be another installment, and I'll break down, you know, his side and where, you know, I come from through him. Alright, this is senior right here. Alright, and this is my mom's prom. So this is when my mom was in high school. Alright, and you see my pops, he got the young stash cracking. You know, this is a minute ago. Alright. Naturally. Alright. And that's me. For now. We just leave it at that for now. Alright. You know, if I had to share it, you know, I might as well share it with the tribe. So much aloha to y'all. Much aloha to all my indigenous family across the plain. To the tribe. To my brethren. To all the sisters out there. To everybody choosing up, tribing up. All praises to our Creator. And I'm gonna, you know, close it out. Had one more thing to share with y'all. This is the 1663, right? Eliot Bible, right? It says the first printed Bible in America. A leaf from John Eliot's Algonquin which is a Native American Indian language Bible. These leaves are 3.5 centuries old. Many people are shocked to discover that the first Bible printed in America was not English or any other European language. In fact, English and European language Bibles were not printed in America until a century later. Eliot's Bible did much more than bring the gospel to the so-called pagan natives who were worshiping creation rather than the creator. They say this because, we saw the creator through the creation. And before the hijack came, there was no separation between that connected us to that creation. Alright? And on this season of remembrance, we're connecting back to that through that frequency. Alright, so avoid all hijacks as we read. Much ado to the tribe. Hawa. It gave them literacy. Right? As they did not have a written language of their own until this Bible was printed for them. It says the main reason why there was no English language Bibles printed in America until the late 1700s is because they were more cheaply and easily imported from England up until the embargo of the Revolutionary War. But the kind of Bible John Eliot needed for his missionary outreach to the Native American Indians was certainly not to be found in England or anywhere else. It had to be created on the spot. Eliot realized that one of the main reasons why the Native Americans were considered primitive by European settlers is that they did not have a written alphabet, right? Or alphabet, right? They did not have a written alphabet of their own. They communicated almost exclusively through spoken language. What little writing they did was in very little pictorial images, more like the Egyptian hieroglyphs than that of any functional alphabet language like those of Europa and Asia or Asia, right? Or Africa. Alright. That's pretty much where I wanted to leave it. Right? I'll leave these links with y'all. Right? So you can see it for yourself, right? And when they talk that shit, just know that they're talking about you. Right? Because you was found here, right? They were found here, right? We were found here, right? So know that they talking about you, fam. And I hope you stay tuned up. And until the next time, Shalom. Enjoy your rest day. Shabbat to everybody. We'll be getting at you soon.